relations. We live in an imaginary lived relationship to our real conditions of existence. We have to imagine them, to fantasize about them, to theorize about them, to represent them in order to live them. And so there are always changes in the ways in which we can figure ourselves. So I've emphasized the question you asked, why identity? I'm interested in identity because identity is some source of agency and action. Because it's impossible for people to work and move and struggle and survive without investing something of themselves, of who they are in their practices and activities. And precisely because, historically, I thought, there had been an enormous waning and weakening in the given collective identities of the past, of class and tribe and ethnic group and so on.
sensitive to when my heart hardens. That's about the only way to describe that feeling where I can sense that it is has no longer is sort of the capacity to reciprocate love, to invite it in, and to give it is diminished. And it's a physical thing, but it's also something that I can recognize is happening. Those moments where I've reached the lowest points, it shifts something whereby I never want to repeat that. And so whilst every trauma sort of builds or reduces one's capacity to withstand lots of things like addictions or whatever, it can also help when they happen. It shifts something, so when you are able to get a glimmer of perspective, one can sort of see what the next step towards caring for oneself might be.
We are hoping that things would improve more and more, but yet we know truly that Montserrat won't be the same again. It won't be the same.
When people are traumatized, they close down to survive it, and they go on repeating things. And it seems to me that one of the terrible things, many terrible things about being traumatized, as say, huge historical traumas like the slave trade, is that it makes it very difficult for the people who have been traumatized to have any new thoughts, to improvise or innovate. Because it's as though in order to survive this, they've had to close down, and then they're closed down. And so it's almost like the question becomes, how can people come back to life? Can they bear to come back to life? And if they can bear to come back to life, what kind of life can they come back into? Because after experiencing such a hostile, persecutory reality,
it's coming.
Who would want to live in that
getting
world?
Better. Because right now the volcano is behaving itself. And there is no other way up. If you're down, the only way you can struggle is to rise from down to reach to the top. So
Perhaps also, in addition, who would want to live in that life is the fact that the trauma never really goes away. That trauma gets transmitted.
This is so beautiful. This is so perfect. I'm not hurting, no, I'm not confused. That guy is dead, but I'm alive. This is beautiful, So to me, that just clarifies that it's not a hallucination. I learned while I was out of my body. I saw in real time what was happening to me. And everything, when I opened my eyes, continued in real time. There was no separation in my awareness, gap in between what I was experiencing, whether I was in the body or out of the body. It was a continual flow of experience. Once I did leave my body and I looked down, there was a lot of things that I came to understand. He's dead. His body's dead. The mind is dead. The ego's dead. And after that kind of series of kind of realizations, it was like, well, then what's left? Like, what am I? And the words flooded in very clearly. It was audible. These words were light, energy, soul, spirit, awareness. It's just a flood of words. They weren't in a line like mechanical. It was like a bunch of voices just said these words. But it felt like it was me explaining this to myself.